The all-new multi-purpose Skills Hub is supporting young people seeking opportunities to build their dream businesses, gain decent work, and transform their lives. The Skills Hub offers incredible services for next to nothing. These services include Youth Enterprise Services, where we support you to start, grow, and sustain their businesses. Our incubation and acceleration services come with priority access to curated library, mentoring and coaching, as well as business advisory services at the Skills Hub. Youth Employment Services, preparing youth for the world of work, and innovative supportive services and facilities, providing events and meeting spaces with customizable seating capacity of 5 to 65, co-working spaces for young entrepreneurs who may not have office space to operate, high-speed internet cafe, a copy center, and others, special packages for the most sought after entrepreneurship skills, employability skills, digital skills, life skills, and financial literacy for individuals and organizations. The Skills Hub is open to every young person who wants to land their dream jobs or contracts. It's time to take charge of your future. Now visit the Skills Hub at YOTA building at American House traffic lights on the Worlali Road, East Lagos. The all-new multi-purpose Skills Hub is supporting young people seeking opportunities to build their dream businesses, gain decent work, and transform their lives. The Skills Hub offers incredible services for next to nothing. These services include Youth Enterprise Services, where we support you to start, grow, and sustain their businesses. Our incubation and acceleration services come with priority access to curated library, mentoring and coaching, as well as business advisory services at the Skills Hub. Youth Employment Services, preparing youth for the world of work, and innovative supportive services and facilities, providing events and meeting spaces with customizable seating capacity of 5 to 65, co-working spaces for young entrepreneurs who may not have office space to operate, high-speed internet cafe, a copy center, and others, special packages for the most sought after entrepreneurship skills, employability skills, digital skills, life skills, and financial literacy for individuals and organizations. The Skills Hub is open to every young person who wants to land their dream jobs or contracts. It's time to take charge of your future. Now visit the Skills Hub at YOTA building at American House traffic lights on the Worlali Road, East Lagos. The all-new multi-purpose Skills Hub is supporting young people seeking opportunities to build their dream businesses, gain decent work, and transform their lives. The Skills Hub offers incredible services for next to nothing. These services include Youth Enterprise Services, where we support you to start, grow, and sustain their businesses. Our incubation and acceleration services come with priority access to curated library, mentoring and coaching, as well as business advisory services at the Skills Hub. Youth Employment Services, preparing youth for the world of work, and innovative supportive services and facilities, providing events and meeting spaces with customizable seating capacity of 5 to 65, co-working spaces for young entrepreneurs who may not have office space to operate, high-speed internet cafe, a copy center, and others, special packages for the most sought after entrepreneurship skills, employability skills, digital skills, life skills, and financial literacy for individuals and organizations. The Skills Hub is open to every young person who wants to land their dream jobs or contracts. It's time to take charge of your future. Now visit the Skills Hub at YOTA building at American House traffic lights on the Worlali Road, East Lagos.
Are you feeling comfortable? Are you really ready to learn more? Okay, great. So I'm happy to be moderating this session. We have two speakers who join on the stage. They have very different stories to share with us. So let me do that and then invite them to join me briefly. So today we would like to talk about funding. For a very long time, most businesses are unable to scale up to new spaces because they don't have the required fund to get out there. Some people who start their business depend on family, friends, and loved ones to actually give them funds to help them grow their business. Today, we'll be hearing from two amazing speakers who work in different sectors. They will share their perspective with us when it comes to fundraising. Are there alternatives? How do we seize those opportunities for that? To welcome our first speaker, I'd like to read a brief about her. Our first speaker is in the person of Yankah. She's the founder and CEO of NAYA Naturals Limited, an industrious woman with passion to transform and how to think about young people getting involved in their work. She's very passionate about STEM, using science, technology, engineering to improve on systems. Her introduction into the share butter business led her to start a business that is making waves in NAYA by Africa. She holds a BBA in Savannah from the Savannah State University in Computer Information Systems and holds an MBA from Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. With a resounding round of applause, let's welcome Yankah to join me. Our other speaker is no other than Mr. Senyo. Mr. Senyo heads the corporate service at Farmerline Limited. He provides leadership and strategic support to the unit and teams at Farmerline. He joined the company in 2013, that was in the early stages, and served in several roles in promoting and growing the company's product and services. He is responsible for the company's client and partner relationships to scale up the farming services and operations. Currently, they have a platform called the Merge Data that creates revenue and impacts their business. He has over 15 years of experience in the field of agriculture and ICT in relation to mobile network connections and also experience working in the rural development space. Wolanyo holds an MSc degree in ICT from the University of Manchester, UK, and a bachelor's degree in agriculture science, majoring in economics from the University of Ghana. Let's welcome Wolanyo Senyo. So we're going to have a very interesting conversation today. I'd like to pass over the microphone for us to delve in here. So the topic today is on fundraising alternatives. But before we do that, who is Yankah? We really want to know who you are.
I think everything you read about me is pretty much said everything I am and what I'm passionate about. For starters, I'm passionate about women. And I don't know why there aren't enough women in this room, so I'm worried about that for starters. But who am I? Well, I am someone who is interested in learning, is interested in growth, is interested in finding opportunities for myself and others. So every chance I find to learn new things, to bring others with me, to teach others new things, every opportunity to be able to improve the lives of other people, those are the things that inspire me, those are the things that I care about. And so that's what has led me to build NAYA by Africa, and which is a skincare brand that is, for me, is impacting the lives of so many people, both the people that support us from helping us find the right raw materials in different communities in Ghana, to the team that actually works on developing the products in the NAYA company, and then our customers who actually enjoy the products that we create, because we are able to, we always interested in making sure that whoever touches the product is happy with it. So that's who I am.
Absolutely. Great. So before you pass off the microphone, okay, I'd like to really zone in. You didn't talk much about growing up and some of the things you picked.
So you want me to talk about growing up. So about me. So when I was growing up, I was actually one of those really timid kids. So I actually have, it's so bad that some of my parents' friends don't even remember me as one of the kids in our house, because you actually wouldn't see me come out. I didn't like people, I didn't talk to people, I was extremely shy, I stuck to myself. But I think I also always found my spaces. So even though I was that person, when there were things that I was interested in, I would go all out for it. So I was an athlete growing up. I ran 200, 400, 800 meters when I was in JSS and also at Gehe. So I went to Wesley Girls. And then I was always interested in doing things with my hands. So my mom was actually a teacher and she taught home economics, and I enjoyed working with her because she got to do a lot of things. She could sew, she could cook, she could do pretty much almost anything. I always consider her as, I mean, she started all these businesses. We bake bread, cookies, anything in my house. So I felt like that was something that I learned a lot from. But by the time I got to Gehe, I was actually, they said I was too smart to do home economics, which I wanted to do. So I actually ended up doing science. And even though I didn't actually care about science, but I think that was also part of what catapulted my learning into computer information systems, because I got the opportunity to get a scholarship into college at Savannah State University, where I studied computer information systems and math. And I studied computer information systems because it wasn't pure computers, because I didn't really enjoy programming, and it wasn't pure business because I didn't think I would be a good business person. So it was a good blend enough that it allowed me to learn a lot of new things and challenge me as well. I worked for 10 years with that degree. With a software company where we were developing software for manufacturing companies. So it was developing cost models. So I learned a lot about manufacturing and calculating costs for different manufacturing sectors. I worked in the food industry, clothing industry, companies that make carpets, semiconductor companies. So I was able to work with different industries and learn how how manufacturing means different into different industries, right? But I was in there as as a software person, because I was developing technology for them. And so over that 10 years, after a while, I kind of wanted to learn something new, because it was a lot of that, just doing different projects along that line. So that's when I went to do my MBA. And before that, I was actually doing a lot of hobby, playing around with share. That's actually where that started. So a few of my friends actually introduced me to it, because one of my friends' dad actually was importing it, and he was a chemist, so he was importing it and testing it for manufacturing companies in the US. So we got the opportunity to kind of play with share. And so they'll bring the ones that after they testing all the excess that was there, they'll bring it to my house. So we started playing with it, and so that's where NAYA literally started. So just developing products and trying to understand how we can create new things. And at first we're just adding cents and trying to whip it and trying to do all of that. But that's what has grown into what NAYA is today.
Thank you very much. I think that's really an inspiring story. We would love to hear more. Can we now hear from Line?
All right.
Growing up?
Sure. Thank you so much. Sorry if you see me in this, I'm coughing, so there's no COVID, but then just to... Yeah, so I'm the last born of my parents. Growing up, I was quite a curious type. I would ask so many questions. My elder sister just recently was telling me that I have 2 kids now. So telling me that my kids really take after me, because they would ask so many questions.
Right.
So I was quite curious. I would ask any question about any other thing, and I think that is something I think is important if you want to, find out why things the way they are, is to ask questions. I loved nature growing up, so I leave home and just go sit in the wild and where we used to live. It wasn't developed, and just to admire what I see basically. So I like to also be to myself, and then dream, really, like just my imagination go wild just as a kid. So that led me to, in a sense, pursue passion in agriculture. So I studied agriculture for my high school, but maybe backtrack, my junior school, actually volunteered to manage the school farm. So in junior school, we had a school farm which was rabbit, and I actually volunteered to be the one to care for the animals. And we lived about, I would say about 5 kilometers away from the school. But every morning and every evening, I'll make sure that the rabbits get fed. And it was pure voluntary work. I won an award. I was recognized by the school for my selfless, and I think that is also one trait that I think is also part of who I am today and what is inspiring me. Fast forward, I still pursued the passion in agriculture, and I asked myself when I got to university, I've been reading about challenges that farmers face, and so I would love to see what I can do to help solve this problem. And so I studied agric. I got sidetracked. In Legon, you are exposed to so many, when you study agriculture, you're exposed to so many subjects. But I decided to pursue the economics angle. I love science. My favorite was physics. But I decided to pursue the social science, which was in economics. And I didn't still lose that passion. Back then, technology had then picked up. So I also found passion in the mobile technology. Then you had to queue to make calls. I don't know if you remember, any of you experienced that. We didn't have these now with social media. You had to queue with a SIM card to make a call. Those were the days, and you can be waiting for someone to finish a call, phone booth, and then your turn. I think they have it in the secondary schools where people take turns, yes. So I really was excited about how mobile phones could change how we do things, and so I decided to, sort of pursue studies in that, and that led my choice of going to study in UK for my master's in ICTs for development. Great. It was specifically looking at how that can play a role in solving rural, because I believe that there was power having these devices in the hands of people, and in a sense basically brought me to where I am today, where we're using technology basically to solve problems. Farmerline, I joined in the very beginning, when it was basically from an idea being incorporated. We're using technology to solve problems that smallholder farmers face. And bear in mind that these smallholder farmers feed 70% of the world, like the food we eat. So if you eat today, unless you are fasting, if you eat any food today, whether wache, gobe, whatever, right, there are smallholder farmers in the rural areas who are producing to feed, and they have problems. You are here, you have a choice. You can decide today you want to eat this, you want to do that. Their choice is very limited. They are price takers. How can we change their situations? And that's what really led my passion, and basically working with the people. It was founded by two graduates from KNUST. They started the idea while they were in school. I heard about it back then. I was in the Netherlands working with an international NGO. Not like I would love to work with such an organization, because the mission and passion that they had aligned with what I believed in. Right. And so I came back to come and join. from the very beginning. We were not paying salaries. We worked like, we would eat together, because that's how we could, to manage and then grow. And today we're employing over 200 people. We have offices across the country. We've incorporated in Ivory Coast. Our technology is used in 33 countries. So that's how you can transform with a passion, with hard work. You can basically bring change. And this for us is just the beginning. So
absolutely, I think they deserve a big one. Let's give it up for them. So when you both were speaking, one thing keeps striking, the fact that you all picked something up growing up and eventually you turned that into a business. So Nana, you saw your mother cook, do all kinds of things at home. When you started, was your first business, and how did it go? Did it really go well, your first business?
So my first business wasn't actually NAYA. The first business I started was a website. So I actually had a website, and it was just to sell natural and organics. It was actually called My Natural Organics. And it wasn't supposed to be anything that I made. It was actually supposed to be a website where people could create, bring their own products to sell on the page. But I was just creating a platform for them to be able to thank you. A platform for them to be able to sell their products. So if you had any natural or organic products and you wanted to sell it on the market, and that was actually very early. This was maybe 2005, before even the big ones where people figured it out. But the thing is, I think when I started it, it was one of those things that someone was helping me code it, and I was putting all of this, but it started catching traction very quickly, and I got scared. And it was one of those where I actually had some big companies even saying, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing, so I'm not sure if I can handle this, so I shut it down. And I think part of it was because I wasn't prepared mentally. I didn't understand what it took to do it, and it was something that I was doing because I could. And I feel like maybe if I had other people or
co-partners on board.
Co-partners on board who actually understood what we were doing, maybe I could have kept it, and maybe I'll be competing with Amazon by now. But it was something that at some point I was just like, I don't know if I can. And I had a full-time job, and so it was all of that, and it was something I was doing in the part-time. So it was a bit hard to kind of manage the coding, the tracking the website, understanding, getting clients on there, and all of that. So that didn't happen. And because, oh, okay, that's what women do. Oh, that's what do you call it? People who go to, anybody can learn how to make soap, pretty much. So, but everybody forgets that it's actually a science. Lye is not something to play with. If you're going to mix oil and lye to make soap, you have to understand you have to understand quantities, you have to understand measurements. So there's all of these things that you have to understand to be able to create things. And for me, because most of the people that actually work in my manufacturing are chemical engineers. So because, and these are And they had to actually, and every day I'm challenging them to learn about things. They're almost like, oh, we are just mixing. And so when they make a mistake, I always take them back and I say, if you understood what would happen if you mix this to this, or if this quantity did this, was mixed with that, then you would actually make less mistakes, because then you would understand the science behind your mistakes, and then it's less about us just trying. Because you can always try when you start.
Yeah.
But when you get to a point, you have to understand what it is. Is it science? Is it math? Is it engineering? Is it art? Is it, what do you need? And because for business, you need all of it. Yeah. And the more you understand about business, the more you understand that everything that you learned in school, it was important. Exactly. So, and then you start to put the pieces together from there. Absolutely.
Great. So starting off, that was really an interesting ride. It means that if you had people with you to support you, by now your website should still be active.
Right? The website, I think it was also understanding what I was doing, and then also, because it's one thing to do things because you are smart and you can try things. It's another thing when you're running a business. Completely different ballgame. When you're running a business, you have to understand who you are dealing with, because if you're dealing with other businesses, you have to understand contracts. You have to understand what terms and conditions. That's why when you go on anything, there's like 200 terms and conditions you don't understand. Because whatever they don't put there, somebody can sue them for it. So the more you understand what it takes to actually run a business, the easier it would be to kind of fill in the gaps for those things. Yes.
Great, thank you. Well, have you started a business before, and how was the process, the journey for you?
Okay, so I started, a rabbit farm. I end up losing all my rabbits to disease.
Oh.
Yes. I went on, I also have I love research. So I sort of joined a colleague of mine to set up a research firm where we do consulting to help, basically in the area of information technology and things like that. But I would say that it's still something I do on sometime part-time, like just to help or provide insights to groups that I'm part of where I volunteer. But beyond that, I won't say that it's because I've decided to focus my energy on something in particular. That's to that extent. But aside the one that I failed in establishing, because I actually the whole neighborhood, I was the only, one with the most numerous, and then I think I don't know how much of you still are into agriculture or anyway. If you want to breed rabbits, because we look out for the best, I took my doe to a friend's, and I think they had disease, and I brought them, and I didn't take care, and it just spread. And I also didn't want to kill my animals. So basically, I just dispose them one after as they die off. So I guess that's also something about business. You need to take be very measure risk, very calculated. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't take risk, because they had a risk, they had a return, but then it has to be calculated, else you can lose everything you have. So yeah, that's also my experience. Trying to start something. Yeah.
Great. I'd like to start the conversation from when you joined Farmerline. So as a startup, they've gone through different phases. Most businesses would, start off getting support from families, friends to actually grow their business. How was the, starting off with Farmerline, how was the journey in terms of their product and then how they invested money in?
Yeah, so I started in the intro, in terms of my introduction. So Farmerline came out from a hackathon that was organized by, the idea really was based from a hackathon that was organized by the Mobile Web Ghana, and through a sponsorship from the Worldwide Foundation, basically to teach young people how to code web and mobile applications. So the idea was just to develop a simple SMS app, which is to solve the problem of information access to information. So the idea failed because they didn't talk to the customer when they built it. So that was the first failure. But then it didn't mean they had to park shop. But the beauty of it is that the idea won a grant award of $600, which became the seed for them to buy the necessary servers, etc., to host and then try the application, which did not, like I mentioned. But then it went through a year of iteration before the product came, and then the company was, registered and started operation. Now, over the period, it evolved in terms of looking at the needs. So talking to the customer, understanding what is the problem you want to solve for the customer, then iterating. All right, but then our mission as a company has always been to create lasting profit for farmers. And that, you need to be very clear on that as a person, what it is that you want to solve. Else, anything, let's say if you don't know where you're going, any road can take you.
Yeah.
Right. So you ought to be focused on what problem you want to solve and then work towards it. It may mean that you may pivot how you go about it, but you should really be focused on what problem you want to solve and how, and then bringing partners on board in that journey. So, looking at Farmerline, from that stage, we went through series of, iteration of ideas, getting the first client, and, we talk to the customer, we listen to, this is the problem I have, I don't know how to do this. Then we go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
And then we evolve, we build, we ask, is this good? That's it. That is the best way to raise money. Get your customer to pay for what you have.
Yeah.
All right, you can depend on grants. Those are, quick ways to help you, stay afloat, to, test, what's called, feel safe. Yeah. All right. But beyond that, you need to have someone say, you know what, I'll pay for this product. And that is the surest way. And when you can prove that, trust you me, I think we'll be going to the details of, types of investors or fundraising.
Yeah.
They will come chasing you.
Right.
All right.
Thank you. Let's give it up for Worlali for sharing. For me particularly, I'm interested in the fact that the business started off somewhere. It was an idea, and then you kept iterating it every now and then. NAYA, when was the first time you raised money to support your NAYA business, now moving away from your website design?
Right, so my NAYA, I started it with my own savings account.
How much was that?
That is actually a hard number to tell, and I'll tell you why. Because I think most of the time I hear stories when people tell their business stories where they say, oh, I had 500 CDs and I started this and it's become this. I actually don't have one of those stories, because when I started this, I was just trying things. So it was, okay, today I would take, because I started this as a hobby, like I mentioned. So I started in my own kitchen, so I didn't have to pay anybody for anything. And I would just buy oils. And I told you I got free shea butter. And so I would buy maybe spend $20, because I was in the US then, and then buy essential oils and things online, and then I'll bring it. And he made a very good point when he said, you have to let the customer prove it. Because if your customers are paying for it, then you're literally funding the thing as you are going ahead. So you go through, it takes a while. When you're doing that, then you are not from the beginning looking for bulk money before you can start the idea, right? So because I started there, by the time it was pretty much always that. So then now I need more shares. So it got to a point now I couldn't get a free, so I have to buy. So then maybe I'll put in $50 and buy 2 kilos of shea butter. Then I would buy maybe some some containers for another $50, and I'll buy. So it was things like that. So it was small quantities like that. And then I think the very first time I did an event, it was in Atlanta. I think that was when I actually spent the most on it. But I had a full-time job. So I had some savings, and I could kind of use part of my salary to kind of support it, right? So if I needed $100 or $200, I didn't need to go and pay it because I wasn't doing a big thing right from the beginning. I started with 4 products. So a couple of like the whipped, what we call Share Fusion now. It was my lemon and orange and mint, and I still have those products actually, and those are still one of our best sellers. And then I learned how to do the coconut body butter and the, what I have now called Berry Tropical body butter, which those were the other 2. So it was those 4 products.
Right.
And I actually did a fair in Atlanta with just those. And it was just me adding a little bit more, making 50 products, and then going to rent a booth and then proofing that concept with customers. I think that was the first time I'd gone out of my friends and family to go out to sell. And I think I made like $900 or something like that from that. And I was so happy because I didn't think anybody would pay me for that, because when you go from proofing it with your friends to being at an event and people spending that. So when I had to come, so at a point I stopped. I did that because, like I said, because it was a part-time thing. But when I moved to Ghana, that was when I realized the opportunity to actually develop into a full-time business.
Right.
And it was the same process that I took when I started in Ghana. I did do it in my brother's garage, because I lived in the house, and I started emptying the garage piece by piece and then bringing out a table. And then I brought some of the ingredients and some of the small equipment I bought when I was doing it in Atlanta with me. So I didn't have to start off with new money or with new, so it was just buying more shea butter, buying more essential oils, so just starting off like that, then going out to the events to sell. So almost every weekend I was at some event. I would go out, I would make some products during the week, I'll go out and sell in the week. And then sometimes when I had excess product, I would actually find space inside Accra Mall. I went to talk to them, to the Accra Mall management, and say, hey, can I do, and they'd be like, well, normally we charge people $500 a day, but since you're starting out, we will let you do this for 500 cedis. But even that was a lot for me, because it was eating all my money. But what it was also doing for me was, it was helping my product get introduced to more customers.
Right.
So by the time I got to A&C, where I first also started there too, on a tabletop at the top floor where the pancake place is right now. That's actually where I started. By the time I got there, people already knew about the product, so they were coming to look for it. So I didn't have to start with a lot of funding. I didn't have to start, and it was a little here, a little there, little here, little there, literally bootstrapping it all the way. The first time I ever loaned money for the business was 2019.
Why did you have to?
Why? Because I needed to grow the business. And I needed to grow it because you get to a point where the volumes that you are producing and the volumes that the customers need don't match.
Right.
So you have to you need to accelerate that. And that is what made me, because I needed to then buy larger volumes of raw materials. And at that point, we had probably 30, 40 products by then. Oh. And so I needed to buy more raw material. I needed to buy more packaging. And to this day, I still import parts of my packaging. And you can't import $200 of worth of packaging every other week when you need it, right? So you need to import, big volumes, 10 boxes or 50 boxes, right? So, and then even that, I still paced it because I didn't want the situation where I was biting more than I could chew. And I've always been scared of this Ghana environment. As you can tell from when I first closed my business, you can tell I'm a very risk-averse person. So to get it, to even do this, to even go and borrow this money, it was a whole thing. And I had to cross a lot of T's and I's, and even how that even came. I literally walked into Exim Bank one day, and I don't know if I'm going ahead of the question you asked me.
You hold your thought. You're getting really interested with this conversation. I think I'll pick Wola's thought. So Wola, I want you to actually speak about the fundraising rounds, some of the whole, process of getting access to funding. We talked about bootstrapping. For those of you joining online and here, bootstrapping simply means you have money at home, you have an idea, you want to test that, you're using your resources, your savings, like Nana rightly said. So, Wola, walk us through. You've been through a series of fundraising processes, right? You've had a series, I think recently you had a series A or B, or which of them? So walk us through. Let's know about that.
Yeah, it's our first investment actually since we were established. That's a pre-series A, and that's $14 million. Yeah.
$40 million. That was your first.
Yeah, pre-series A. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah. So I think it all goes back to you making sure that you start with good fundamentals. You need to start keeping books. All right. It's a business. It's not a personal thing. So you need to set up a good bookkeeping system. Make sure that even if you don't know it, that's why you are in this facility. To help you structure, set up as a business. The reason why a lot of, from our part of the world, it's difficult to raise or to get somebody to a friend or family or, loved one, like you said, or fool, to write a, $10 million or let's say $10,000 check for you, or even $1,000, 1,000 Ghana cedi, 10,000 Ghana cedi check for you, is because we are not at that stage yet. So if you want to prove yourself, please start by making sure that your basic financial record is good. Because in the past, people have been given the opportunity and they've ended up squandering it. So it becomes increasingly, people want to make sure that they are done enough due diligence on you that indeed you as an entrepreneur, you are disciplined financially. You don't get the money and then it goes into your personal, So the way they can get confidence is that, one, you have systems in place that checks and make sure that you can account for every single money. But then it also goes beyond the idea. You need to get beyond the MVP that you develop. You need to make sure that at least you got somebody who is expressed interest and is paying or even giving a try and giving you really good feedback. That shows that you have an understanding of, one, who your customer is, opportunity, or even identifying the market that you are working in, because they want to be sure that you have done the fundamentals of your business. You know how many people are probably into this business or what the market opportunity is. So that if they come and put in some money, all right, it can make, some impact. But I must say that there are different kinds of investment that fundraising you can go into. At an early stage, you're not going to walk to a bank to ask for money. The big people are even struggling with the high interest rates. So you don't even do that. Now we have quite a lot of opportunities through, grants, programs, accelerator programs that give, sort of free money in quote, but then you earn it by working hard or showing yourself, pitching your idea, and then you get some, funding to help you develop the idea further, prove it beyond that, is this an idea in my thoughts or something that I feel like, or it's a hobby that I'm doing, but then it's becoming a solid, like I said, in our case, it was a great idea. We went to market, it wasn't a fit. All right. It could happen that in some cases your idea is before its time.
Right.
So you need to really figure out all those things add up into enabling you, one, to attract either at the very early stage the angel investment that you will pitch your idea to somebody. It's an investor, sort of an entrepreneur or a high-end individual who will say, I like this idea. You have done your homework.
Yeah.
You know your customer. You know who your customer. You know what the pain point is. So you know what? Because of what you said, I'll write you, let's say, 5,000 cedis. Check. Use this. that 5,000 cedis check doesn't mean you should spend it. You invest it into your business. Then you go back and tell him, look, this is what I've been able to do. I've been able to grow this. Then it begins to show traction. Yeah. All right. And oftentimes in the space of fundraising, also your network. Because if I'm an investor, let's say I gave you some money, I have other friends, and then you squander it. And you're going to talk to my other, you say, do you know this guy? Yeah, I gave him 5,000. I don't know what he made off of it. But you showing that one, you have the discipline, you reinvest, you improving, and then, communicating with your you build that huge network. And in no time, like I said, the money will start following you, really. I'll pause and I think Nana would add.
Great. So Nana, for you, all this while you've always had some money on you. Was there a time where you pitched your business idea for funding, and how was the process?
I've actually never pitched it anywhere for funding before. I've looked at it, the way I look at my business, I've looked at it, then he made a very good point about recording things, having records. I have records from 2014 when I started this, when I literally was doing it on paper, to when it went into Excel, to when it went into, because I'm that type of person. Also because I also had the background in costing, I knew that even for you to price right, you have to understand what it's really costing you. Because if you don't price right, then you're going to keep changing prices, and then customers will lose interest, right? So you have to understand the numbers. And a lot of people sometimes when they're going to, I want to start a business, but I'm not a numbers person. You have to learn it, because that is actually what determines whether your business will survive or fail. And for me, from the beginning, and so that, and then being able to sell the product. Right. So it was a lot. It was pretty much just being able to understand what industry you are in, what the mission of the company is, what you are really targeting and doing. Right. And as I mentioned earlier, it's really about being able to support the people who process like shea butter and black soap and other oils, and then being able to bring it into a space where we are able to bring in young people to develop products through an R&D and manufacturing area, and then being able to sell products that customers actually find value in. Right. So once we understood these three areas, it's a matter of most of the decisions that we make as a business, looking at how that fits in. So when I mentioned going into Exim, where I was going to, it was actually at the point where I said I needed some money, and I needed bulk money. And I said I needed bulk because sometimes when you're actually in business, sometimes you are making money, but it's going into taking care of things every day. You have to buy this, and you need that, and you have to pay salaries, and you have to do that. You have to buy another thing. But sometimes you need a bit of a lift, right? Like I said, needing to buy more volume of something, because that's what also catapults your growth, right? And so I actually walked into Exim because I wanted to, people have always talked about Exim. I didn't even know what it was, to be honest. So one day I was actually driving past and I'm saying, let me go and see what this is about. And that's exactly what sometimes people say, oh, these places you don't go in. But I feel like most people also don't know what happens there. So the fear of not knowing is what's also stopping a lot of us from understanding what opportunities exist in a lot of these spaces for us. So I walked in there and then I kept asking the same questions. Do you guys have any programs for people who process shea or anything around shea industry or cosmetics or something like that? And they were like, go to this person's office. And then this person passed me to this person's office. And then finally I ended up in this woman's office. And then maybe after being pushed around like 5 different, and then she said, oh, I actually have I'm supposed to develop this program for businesses, right, because we are trying to build some factories in the north and we needed off-takers, so companies that would off-take them. So there's some funding for it, and then, but you are going to have to take it as a loan, but it's going to be a low interest loan. So I'm like, okay, what is that? And she's like, okay, it's not set up yet, I'm still working on it, but now that I know you, I have your details. So within the next few weeks and months, I was literally in touch with her until the whole thing evolved. So by the time the program even came up, my name was already on the list, right? So that gave me the opportunity to be a part of that program, where they were actually, so even though parts of the program didn't work, I got my loan because I actually had my books, and because to do that, we had to show all our financials, the things we have been able to do. They literally vetted us like you'd go and take any loan from any bank. And so once I was able to show that, even though their factories they were going to build weren't ready, actually to this day, they never built them. But I got opportunity from there to be able to now take that money and then invest it into my business, where it actually helped me grow the business. So I took that, and then that was how I was able to invest in that. And from that traction, because I was able to also consistently pay them back, never missed one payment, when I need additional money, I could literally, it was easier because I had track record of being able to loan money before and paying back. Absolutely. So I was able to do that even with, now that I understood that, I was like, look, what other programs exist? So then I would even find out from some of the banks and things like that. And a lot of them actually have these types of programs. And so I actually haven't had outside investors in my business. I still own the company most of the time. Most of the money in it is through banks financing, but it's always been less than 10% interest rate. Right. While people say Ghana it's only 25 and 30%, but there are programs that exist, and once you understand what your business model is like, you can find the opportunities, and then you can actually look for some of those.
Great. So we have some responses online. I think people are enjoying the conversation. So someone posted that on the bookkeeping, you need to set up a good bookkeeping system as an entrepreneur. And this was from Worlali, Senyo. You actually said that most of our audience are into businesses. Some started recently, some really work with organizations that are already established. I see your work is more inclined or supporting young women. What's the capacity now with, since you've expanded, how many women have you empowered to go into business?
So for me, I look at it this way. So most of the people that I work with are people who already have businesses and are looking for opportunities in different ways, right? So if you have an opportunity, if you have a business and you sell something we can use as one of our ingredients, then we can partner with you, and then we can buy from you, because I always, like I say, if you are selling, then your business survives, right? So the way I look at partnerships and being able to build support other businesses is, because one thing I find a lot about this Ghana ecosystem is you literally have to build the entire supply chain when you're creating things. And that can be expensive, it can be tiring, it can be a bit difficult when you can't actually do it. But if you find other people who are doing other businesses that support yours. So let's say you make shoes, and you find somebody that makes leather. So you partner with that person, and then you build a relationship with that person, so that as your shoe business is growing, their leather business is also growing. Because then it also encourages them to stay in business, to make sure that, so you make sure that it guarantees your supply of leather, and then it also guarantees you it guarantees you a supply of leather, and guarantees them somebody to buy their leather, so everybody gets to stay in business. To me, that is a model I see as a sustainable way we can look at building businesses, because we do a lot of everybody doing their own thing, and then people repeating the same things, and then we all have 2,000 small businesses, which are pretty much maybe 5 strong businesses, but we don't want to collaborate, we don't want to understand what others are doing. So that is where I see the strength in our partnerships with other people. So we work with, so if we partner with, let's say, somebody that processes coconut oil, then we buy our coconuts from you, so our coconut oil from you. So we are making sure that every month you are getting orders. If you're getting orders, you will stay in business, because we've actually worked with people who have gone out of business because they weren't getting enough orders. So all of these, because if you are selling, then you don't even have to then say, oh, let's go and find big finance and let's go into the banks. Because sometimes people go to the banks for 2,000 cedis, and if all they could secure is a 2,000 cedi order every month from somebody, it could fail that.
Yeah.
So sometimes those are different ways you can also secure your financing and ensures that you have money in your business.
Absolutely. So it's very important that we keep to having the right partnerships to actually grow our business. Worlali, how has that been? Were you able to, incorporate partnership? I know your department does more of customer relationship building and things like that.
Yes. So there's an adage, I like putting it because it's a true saying, it's a wisdom, that if you want to go fast, you go alone.
Yeah.
If you want to go far, you go together. That is it's full of wisdom, a lot. And I want to re-emphasize the need for collaboration. Because, like you said, in the sector that I work, similar, because yours is at the downstream level where you process. The infrastructure is non-existent, so you have to spend, a lot of resources to do that.
Yeah.
And you are not. Our business is not to build infrastructure. There's a stakeholder's role involved in that, but it's not there. And so, if you want to live, you need to build something that can allow your business to stand. And you can't do everything by yourself. All right, so that's where partnership comes in. So for example, what we've been doing all these, the work we do, it's not only Farmerline that is doing it. We don't have, we're not saying, okay, we have offices across the entire country doing it. We're working through intermediaries and partners that we share the same mission, we share a common value, and it's a win-win relationship. That is how you create lasting partnership. Unfortunately, sometimes the partnerships tend to be one-sided, and you see that it doesn't last. Yeah, and then you can apply it in life everywhere, right? So it's important that you don't think just about yourself, but how do I create a relationship that also helps grow my business? As you grow, I also grow.
Right.
And not a pull him down syndrome that, oh, you are doing this, then, so we need to really take, and that's something we do. And I can give an example, quite countless, but one of them, I think last year, there's a young startup, actually two, that we're buying implement from. So we finance assets for smallholder farmers. Issue of post-harvest. If you're in agriculture, you will understand it's a big problem. About a third of our farmers, what they produce goes to waste before it comes to the market. I'm sure when you go to either Medina market or whatnot, you see the heap of, you're wondering, what is happening here?
Yeah.
That's waste. That's something that could have been turned into money. So what we're trying to do is, how do we help farmers? They don't have the money to go and buy these treasures.
Yeah.
So there's this young entrepreneur, Jeffrey, I think it's Saytech. He's developed this treasure that can, thresh all kinds of grains. And we're buying product from him. Then we're keeping the money here instead of probably importing it from China.
Right.
That's a local entrepreneur. So assuming currently last year we served 7,000 farmers through our input financing program. We are ambitious, we want to grow this to double that number. That means that his business is going to grow. As long as he's keeping his part of the bargain,
right,
producing quality time. So that is how partnership grows. So even in our engagement with, the smallholder farmers that we work with, we partner with farmer groups.
Yeah.
Because it's expensive going to talk to each individual farmer.
Yeah.
Right? So those are some of the things that you need to look out for in your business, planning and processing. Which, institution or what within the value chain, who can I partner with? How can we build synergies? If there's no room to partner and you compete, it also brings the best out of it. It makes you think. All right, it makes you more innovative because you compete on price, compete on efficiency as well, which in a sense, well, how do you reduce your cost? All right, if you reduce your cost of production, it means that you can give competitive price to customers.
Yeah.
But if you are, producing you can't sell lower than how much you're producing, then you don't have a business. Yeah. So these are some of the things that you need to take. So building partnership also helps to reduce these sort of challenges. And more importantly, also opens opportunities for you, where you can actually, there are currently in the development space, there's a lot of call for consortium, forming consortiums to go together, bid for, proposals. So, for example, take the US aid, UK aid. They want ideas to come like as a consortium. It's not just one man show or one company show, but then you come together in a consortium, present an idea, co-create, and then you can be given those funding opportunities to test out. And those are opportunities for you, to work.
Great. So I like that we're ending on around that side, that you form a consortium, be able to go out and look for resources. I think in forming a consortium too, as young entrepreneurs, we need to be very careful who we bring on board, because it's a very scary thing these days. I'd like to read a couple of comments on our page. So one person joining us from Savlogu is saying that we should advocate for this team. This is actually a great theme we're discussing, so he's enjoying the conversation. There's another input that access to information is indeed a struggle for entrepreneurs, and that's why we are having this conversation this evening, for them to share their journey with us, to know how to do it and doing it the right way. We'll be taking questions from in-house, so get ready. If you have any question you want to ask our guests, please feel free. We'll call on you to come right in front, and then you can respond to that. I want to speak so let's do the last round, and then we'll take questions. Okay. So challenges. Currently, as you work in your space, what are the challenges you see in your role? And then linking it to smallholder farmers, what has been their biggest challenge at the moment?
Sure, that's fine. I think there are a lot of challenges. I mean, you can start from, by the end of the day, you ought to see, when you were asking how people were feeling, the fact that you have life, look, that's the greatest gift you can ever have. So yes, I look forward to each day with great expectation. It doesn't mean that there are no challenges. There are serious challenges. Time is a constraint, all right? Yeah. But then coming to the question itself, I think one of the greatest challenge I would say is that you need to find good team, all right? People with the right mindset, right work ethics, all right, to support you. Because beyond your idea, what can make you succeed is having the right team to back and then grow that. We started, Farmerline started with 2 people. We became 6 because I joined in very early. Like I said, now we're about over 200 people. But you need to work with the right team to, and that process, it's quite painful. But it is good to go through it now. And it's not a walk in the park. It is hard work, but you have to plan. And this goes also to fundraising, because investors, when they come, are not looking at you alone. They're looking at what team is around you. What are the competencies? How do you complement each other? So it is important. You need to get the right team. So getting the right mindset of people to help you grow the business beyond just, what's in for. Of course, you always need to look at what's in for me.
Right.
But then how does it, go beyond self? Okay. So that's important. That also goes to integrity.
Right.
In your team. Are you doing business? Are you trying to cut corners? And those are things that will kill your business. You may maybe be able to get it through in the first few, but then you can't keep it up. So start being very honest as a business person. You will not do any shoot, then you cut it out. And it's really important. It's not a joke. You may not, probably see it now, but then down the line, when probably you're a bit, just something you did some years back will come back biting you. And that will kill, no matter how great your idea is, it will kill it. And The other challenge, I mean, financing, yes, is a big challenge. The reason is that it takes a lot of preparation. You have to plan. You need to know what you really need, and then make sure you have your acts together. If you start well, it's going to be easy, but then it's a process. I can't tell you the number of due diligence questions that you'll be asked, all right? Over and over, the same question, they will twist it 100 times, just wanting to find out what exactly you're saying. Now, like I said, you need to be very honesty and take it, like you need to hold it on your belt. Because if it's true, it is true. If you say one lie, you have to tell like 100 lies just to protect that one. So just say as it is and work in that. That would give you a strong ground as a business. All right. So for me, I think those are the things we taking through going through that discipline. We need to also learn to read, learn about the industry. You say you are a business person and you are not trying to find out what is happening, or even in other adjacent industry, what is happening there.
Right.
Examples, I'm sure you remember film, those days where we take...
Fuji film. Sorry?
Yes. Now, the smartphone just killed your business. I'm sure we remember Nokia, right? Now, Android, just like that. So you also always have to you always have to be ahead. Okay, what is happening? How is this going to impact my business? How can I pivot myself to take opportunity, to take advantage of it, and just leapfrog, than just thinking you're in an island of your own and you can do that. So it takes a lot of hard work, discipline. So it's not a walk in the park. Seriously, when you want to do business, it means a lot of sacrifice. All right? It means that if friends are doing stuff, they say, oh, we're going to party. Yes, doesn't mean don't party, but then you have to hold yourself. I need to work at this deadline. I need to achieve this. And then sometimes you may want to hold back, what do you call it? Reward in the short term for the bigger gain in the future. And those are the discipline you have to build as an entrepreneur if you really want to succeed. And it's not an easy play. I just have to let you know. All right? The statistics are not very friendly. The number of this, because it takes a lot of hard work. And even in our space where we are now creating ecosystems to support young entrepreneurs, it's even, serious. Yeah. So you need to really go above and beyond yourself, challenge yourself always. And that's the challenge. Those are the things. It's not really about getting the money, but how you put yourself to the discipline to attracting that. Yeah.
Great. So the last question, same question to you, and then we'll go to the audience for their questions.
Okay, so talk challenges. Yeah. So I think you pretty much mentioned most of it. And I feel like most of the time when I meet other entrepreneurs, we literally discuss the same things over and over and over, because we are all in the same ecosystem and we are actually dealing with similar challenges of finding the right skilled people to work with, to partner with, who can help us get to where we need to be. Because like I mentioned earlier, maybe you are not good in finance or maybe marketing. So you would need but you need marketing, you need finance, you need sales to be able to sell, to be able to run your business. So even as the entrepreneur, you have to understand where your strength is, so that you can bring on others who can complement that, right? So you don't want to, if you are the salesperson, you don't want to keep hiring salespeople when you need an accountant, right? You need to understand when to hire an accountant, and you need to also know what the accountant also has to have accounting knowledge so they can do your books properly. Right. Because you may be thinking you are going one way, and then they may be doing some things in your books because they are stealing from you, and then at the end of the day, the business dies, all of you die together. So that's one of the things I tell my team a lot. I say everybody's actions impact their business. So we can't say that, well, that is their job and they are not doing it well. Since it's not my department, I'll go somewhere. If you see it and you don't say something about it, it will come back to bite all of us, and the business will die and we'll all go home. So if we all don't want to go home, then we have to keep each other accountable. Right. We have to make sure that we are all on track. We have to make sure we are all learning. Because like you mentioned, the market is changing very fast. Back in the day when maybe we didn't have phones and access to information, now you can find out anything, or you can find out if somebody is telling the truth or lying in 3 seconds by pulling your phone and Googling it. Mm-hmm. So if people can do that to find most basic information, why are we not doing the same thing to learn new things? In the same way, all the new things that is happening on your Facebook, it's happening on your Instagram, it's happening on your Twitter. All the different technologies that are coming is at the hands of everybody. It's not like before where it's like, oh, this happened in America, but because we are in Ghana, we don't understand it or we don't know it. If you have a smartphone, you have access to information. Yeah. If you have a smartphone, you have access to free learnings. There's a lot of YouTube videos. I've learned so many things. I built my entire business not going back to school to learn any chemistry, but by learning it on YouTube, but by picking up recipes, by learning from scientific journals and different places that actually produce things, and then trying and erroring. Because initially people would be like, oh, but how do you do that? How do we trust that you know what I'm doing? I said, even the best scientists, they try and error. But eventually, you have to understand the science behind it. So you are, even as you're trying and erroring, you're not just throwing things together and seeing what happens. You are learning about what exactly you need to learn. You're understanding the science, you're understanding the math, you're understanding the cost, the marketing. Because even marketing, everybody's a marketer. Everybody can post on social media. But most people do not actually understand what digital marketing really is. Because marketing for a business is different from posting things on your own Facebook page. Because you have to communicate the values of the brand. Maybe on your own business, on your own page, you're dancing today and you're doing this today and you're showing people how to do it. You can't do that on your business page. Your business page has to speak to the values of the business, because that's where people buy from you. That's where people understand your brand. That's where people connect with you. So all these are things I've had to learn as a business owner. So you have to pick up and learn and figure out what the market is like, what your industry is like, what's going on in that industry. It's not that, oh, I've seen somebody, they're making money there, so me too, I'm going to do some. You have to actually understand what is it that is making the one that is making money make money. Because if they don't even understand why they're making money and their business dies, yours will be sustainable. Yeah. So the more you understand, the more you learn, the better you would also become. So everything that you pick up on your business, from your learning, from your team, from your partnerships, and then of course the financial aspect. Yes, you have challenges. It's not every day you have money, but you also have to understand where your money is going. You have to understand how you are making money, so that when you are not making money, you can go back there and figure out how to make more of it.
Exactly.
You can't keep saying that, oh, I don't have money, so let me go to the bank. Sometimes you're not making money because you're not selling enough. So you have to go and sell more. Maybe you're not marketing well enough, so you have to go out and market. Maybe because sometimes people want to talk, but they don't want to get out and actually do it. Yeah. Get out from your house, get out from meet people, engage, let them try your thing, let them criticize it. When customers criticize your product, they're not criticizing you. Yeah. They're criticizing something they would want to use. So you have to listen, you have to learn from it, and then you have to implement some of that feedback so that you can actually make sure that your business is sustainable. So that's how I would end this.
Great. So there are some responses. I'd like to read them. We have folks joining us all the way from the Gambia, Nigeria, Savlugu. So there's a comment here. Partnership is key. You can't do it alone. And there is another comment, key takeaway, try and error is not failure, but rather a learning process. So in wrapping up, we'll actually take your, recommendations and best practices around finding the right, support to kind of support your business in terms of financing. Then those of us in-house, you can get up and join us here to ask your questions. So what would be your last words in terms of recommendation, finding a best way to get support for your business in terms of funding? Make it two or three recommendations. 2 or 3. For me, like I mentioned, selling. Because sometimes people always assume the funding is somebody else putting their money in. Sometimes it's you continuously proofing the business. If your business is selling,
then you probably might not need to keep going to find money, because you have new money to reinvest. And when you get the money, reinvest it in your business. Don't sell and take your profit and go and spend it. Then your business will always, nobody's going to invest in you when you are not investing in yourself. So that is the first thing I would say. Whatever product you have, make sure that you have the product on the market and actually sell it. Secondly, find out low-cost ways of actually finding funding, whether it's to because I'm not big on doing a lot of the competitions and those types of things, because I believe a lot of those things sometimes take you away from focusing on your business. And so I'm about just focus on the business, but find opportunities that exist that can help you create different partnerships or different ways, because sometimes it's not always money you need. It's easy to say, oh, if I had money, I'll be able to do this. Sometimes you have the money, but the money is sitting there. You don't even know how to spend it. So you have to structure your business and your processes enough so that you know exactly where the money would go when it comes into the business, and how to use it, and how to get the returns on the money as well.
Right.
Because if you actually spend 200 cedis and you make 200 cedis, or you make 180 cedis, you literally wasted the money. You have to be able to spend 200 cedis and make 1,000 cedis from it, so that you can reinvest that back and return it. So the more you understand about that, the more you would also be able to turn over your money fast. So those are going to be the core things I would leave with you.
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I think for me, the two key things I would say is this. One is that you should know why you are going, what you need the money for. All right, you should really know. It's not just that, oh, I need money, but really, do you need that money? And that's something you have to really be very honest with yourself and try and, answer. If there's a way to solve or to get the money, do you really have to go for that money? What that means is that you need to know who you're going to ask the money that you're looking for from. You don't go and ask a bank that you need money to test your idea. So you should really be very honest with yourself and ask yourself that critical question. And I think there are a lot of resources, because the journey you are on, people have walked that before. So you need to look out for other mentors that you can, talk to and learn from. And that means that you also have to do your homework. So you don't go and ask, like silly questions in code that you could have just found out. So where you are hard, like you really can't figure out, they would give you a word of advice, word of wisdom, and that would just change the way you're looking at the problem. So that for me would be the two main ideas. Actually.
Great. That brings us to the end of the conversation here. We'll be taking questions. I think they deserve a really big round of applause. They really do. I like that the conversation started from where they were and we zoned into doing the right thing to get the right resources for your business. So I'll start with online questions that we have. If you have a question and you're in-house, kindly be on your feet or raise up your hand. We'll get the microphone to you. Let me read the ones online. So the first question here, and I'm sure any of you can take it. So our local church has announced an opportunity to construct a 6-unit classroom block for their community. As a Mason, I'm actually trying different forms of partnership to get artisans and people like that to work with. What should I consider as part of the contract, to work with?
Yeah. Yes, I think at the end of the day, it's about, value for money.
Value for money.
Yes. So if you want Masons to help you and you sign them up, you are working for 8 hours a day, you make sure that it is 8 hours a day. Because I'm sure the church is going to pay you for the work.
Yeah.
So, and you also have to pay them. So you need to make sure that One in the like you sign contract and you don't also withhold their money. If you say you're paying them, what do you call it, either by day or it's a contract, you make sure it is clearly spelled out.
Right.
And you go by that. And you don't leave the work just by them to do. Okay. Right. Okay. So building a partnership to bid for the contract. So I think that you should know from previous work. You should speak to them. Know what work they've done. If you are not an expert, then get an expert who understands building so that you can form a team. You can bring their experience and then you work together to bid for that contract. That's the essence of partnership. You complement each other, just like a puzzle, where, I'm good in this, maybe he is good in putting the proposal together. You have somebody who has built, has done building before, has a lot of experience and portfolio that he can point to. Then that makes your proposal a strong one. Do you understand? You have somebody who knows how to do cost estimates.
Yeah.
So then when you submit, it's not out of place. The budget is not somewhere else. Or it's not, outrageously low because you want to cut, So that's what I think is important. I think, Anami.
Nana, would you like to try?
I think he's on the right path on that one, because when you are building a partnership, you have to first, I always say, you are a mason, but have you put together a whole building before? Because if you are going to put together a 6 classroom block, you're going to need more than a mason, but you have to know what else do you need, because you can't, if you're going to, you have to first take a step back and find somebody who has built a building like that before and see, okay, besides a mason, who else do I need? Right? If you're going to need a roofer, if you're going to need somebody to do the flooring, if you're going to need an accountant, somebody to go and buy the materials, you're going to need trucks, you're going to need all of the different equipment and the raw materials that you're going to need to build it. All of that will have to be outlined, and you have to find out what your expertise is, like I said before, and then what the others who are also coming on board, what their expertise are going to be. But before you even bring them on board, you have to understand what they're all going to do. Because if you don't know what they're going to do, then you meet anybody that says, oh, I'm a roofer. You're like, okay, great, join our team. But for all you know, they've already roofed half of a roofing and so before. And then they don't have enough experience. And you will put in the nice building and then the roof is leaking. It will still say your work wasn't good, no matter how nice the parts you did. So you have to make sure that the people you partner with are also complement, not only in the types of job, but then in experience as well, so that the quality of work you want is what gets put out at the end.
Great, thank you. So the other question is, so both of you have talked about the need for proper bookkeeping to start. So same question is from the artisan group. What should that look like for us small artisans? What type of record should we keep?
First, everywhere you spend money, write it down. That's the first thing. Also track time. So your time and your money. When I say time, I mean, because sometimes we will say, okay, we are going to make this shoe, but we don't know how long it's going to take us to make it. So if you're going to make the shoe, you have to know first everything you're going to need to make it. You need some soles, you need some leather, you need some laces, you need some thread to sew it, you need a needle to sew it. You have to first figure out all the materials. Then you figure out how long is it going to take you to make one shoe. Because if you don't understand how long it's going to take you to make one shoe, you can spend 2 weeks making one shoe, and that is not a sustainable business if you're spending 2 weeks making one shoe. Yeah. Or if from that 50, maybe that's 2 weeks to make one shoe, that's if you do it alone. But if you bring on somebody that will do the sewing, and somebody that will maybe do the leather, somebody that will do the laces, and then everybody takes 2 hours, and so that shortens that down to a day, then you can say, okay, if all of us together, we can make one shoe a day, and so then we can make, in 14 days, we can make 14 shoes versus just one. So the more you understand also about what it takes to do it, I always say, always go back to tracking your time and then your money. If you can track what you are spending your money on, the things you need, and then how long it takes you to do it, then you can figure out the rest from there.
Great. Well, would you?
Yeah, I think for me, anything that you do, you should be able to document it because that's what you learn from. Like Nana said, the data can help you be more efficient. The reason why we are not, especially a lot of our artisans, are not able to keep to their word is because they don't have enough data. They use just estimations, imagination, or I use this. But if you are keeping proper record, you can estimate that, okay, if I tell you your product, I'll produce 10, stoves for you in 1 week, I really mean 10 stoves in 1 week. But somebody will tell you, oh, I'll get it for you in 3 days. They know very well that it takes them like 3 days to just, they say, we'll get all the 3 for you in 1 day. So that helps you, and that communicates integrity, that communicates honesty. It goes back to that. But I think anything at all, so for example, your employee, who you've employed, employment contract, all of those things, you need to keep evidence of it. Because when you want money, you'll be surprised. Yeah. They want to know who was your first employee. Do you have a contract to show? So as much as possible, even it may be as little, documented. Because now there are so many, like Nana said, you go to Google, type sample contract, you will find it. Yeah. You can tailor it to suit your own. So document everything. Finance is, don't compromise on it. Money you get, money you spend, every single document. If you're buying something for the business, document it. If you are taking money for yourself, document it. It is, I can't overemphasize why it is important. So please, whether it is sole proprietorship, whatever, make sure you keep those, because those are the critical things that will differentiate you. All right, thanks.
Thank you very much. So we will be taking more questions. Keep them coming, those of us joining us online. I see an hand up here. Please kindly come forward and then face over. Please be up on your feet. Your name and then your question. Please make it brief.
Thank you so much. My name is Eddie Plim. My question is, assuming you have made a budget for a client, we are coming into this dispensation, how the CD is being depreciating every day. And my total cost is 5,000 Ghana cedis as at the time I was doing the budget. And things keep increasing day by day. What will I do so that it doesn't affect my budget? Because when it affects my budget, it means that my quality is going to reduce because I need to find a way of delivering the work to the person. What will I do to be able to make that up? And my second question is, our system is designed such a way that any business you start, you have somebody who is calculating the amount of money you are making. So they are finding strategy of pulling you down. Coming back, you started your business upstate where the system is that flexible for you to maneuver your way. Let's come back to the reality of assuming you are starting your business today in this dispensation. What will you do to be able to achieve the targets you want to achieve? Thank you.
Okay. Your first question was about okay, so I was laughing when you mentioned that because there's something that we do with pricing where you have to hedge some of it, right? So when you are pricing something, you don't price it for just this week. You price it for at least for the next year so that you don't keep changing your price every week because customers don't like that. So sometimes you hedge and you incorporate certain things to allow, and then you say, okay, this is actually where my profit margin is. But then over time, I know as things go up and stuff, it may shrink a little. So over time, the more you can also move more products faster, you get to earn more products, profits on it over time. But then again, When with the dollar, that's actually what I was laughing because I actually faced the same issue. When we started the year, the dollar was at 6. And then somewhere around March, it started running. Next thing we knew was at 8. And we're like, hey, why did they get here? So usually when we started the year, we actually, normally we don't change our prices much. When we have a price, we'll keep it for at least a year or 2. Because we try to kind of look at the market and hedge it and kind of allow customers to kind of get used to the pricing and the product and also build a good customer base with it. But what happened was when the dollar moved from 6 to 8, we import our packaging and some of our raw materials. And we normally will buy raw materials around March, around July, and around September. So we are literally right around where we are actually buying raw materials when these things are changing. So in March, when they started doing that, then I said, okay, for us to we're going to change prices then, because it wasn't only the dollar that changed, the taxes also increased. And so we went from paying a 4% flat rate to 19.5% flat rate. So we had to incorporate, in addition to the raw material price changes from all the real suppliers, the dollar that was changing, and then your tax increase. So we knew that we had to do a price hike. And then we knew customers were going to be upset. But then I said, but let's do one big one. And then even if they're upset, we know that we're not going to change it through the end of the year. Right? The number we used was 10. Where are we now?
It's gone up.
Because then it was even 7, right? And it was 7 and 7.5 at that point. And we're like, oh, if 10 put it, we've stretched it, for at least for our packaging, if we actually, and because most of the time it doesn't change that much. It will go up maybe by 1 throughout the whole year. So for us to have started at 6 and already at 10 by August,
yeah.
It's a huge change. And that is something that as business owners, you sometimes have to eat some of that pain. You have to literally eat some of their losses. You have to, but then you also have to find a way to balance some of that in other areas of your business. It's not always you do it by increasing prices. Sometimes, yes, you have to increase prices, but some of the price increases that we did earlier, we knew that it was going to take some of those shocks, right? And so looking at that, we say, okay, we can adjust some of those pricing, but maybe, or how profitable will we be if it goes up to 12? If it goes up to 15, right? And then you have to build models around that when you're actually creating your pricing, because then you take a conservative number and then you kind of work your way through it. So it's difficult, to be honest, in an environment like this, because even you would say when I started in the US, because I barely started in the US, I was literally a hobby. When I brought it here, I actually started the business here. It wasn't a full-time thing for me. It was doing something I was doing on my weekend. But when I came, this has been my full-time job since 2014. So everything I've done everything I've earned in income has been from this business. And having to look at the market and how you're talking about other people looking at you. You know how when you mentioned earlier about not adjusting it and trying to cut corners so that people will you'll reduce your quality because you have to earn more money. That is one thing you should never do. What I have tried to do as a business is maintain the quality and explain the difference, instead of actually reducing my quality and then trying to justify why people are getting less than they expected from me. Because when people know what to expect from you and you keep moving that around, they will never trust you because they don't know what they're going to get at any point in time, and you will lose your business. But when you have your quality consistent and everything is changing around, because I told you that when we make that big change, we had a lot of customers that complained, but they understood. They would come in and be like, hey, people have increased your price, but I understand, things are hard in Ghana. And they still bought. And to this day, we actually haven't had our sales go down in the middle of all of this and all the price changes and all the price increases. We've still been able to sustain most of our customers. We've still been able to start because they know what to expect from us and they know we wouldn't give them less.
Right.
And so if you're able to do that, then people stay with you. People will ride through the changes with you. And then you also be able to say, okay, if this quality is not for this market, then let me take this quality into a different market. Because if I give less quality and I'm trying to stay in the same market and it's not working, then I'm literally just killing my business.
Exactly.
But if you actually can move that quality into a different market where people don't have the dollar fluctuation, so now I can take the product and say, okay, let me take it to the US. And because they are not having dollar fluctuations and sell more than N dollars so that I can use that to back my dollar purchases, that can fill in. Then the Ghanaians don't have to suffer with all of that. So sometimes, depending on when you are building your business, you have to think of the different markets that you are in and what is happening there and how you can balance some of those things. And I think that also answers your next question, which is how then do you deal with everybody that is trying to copy you and bring you down and calculating your money? You can calculate my money all day long. It's still my money. It's my money. It's not going anywhere. You can calculate it all day long. It's my money. I work hard for my money and I know what I'm doing. And if you maintain your quality and people trust you and they are paying for it, you can do what you want. But this is what it's my business and it's my money.
Great.
I'll make it snappy. Mm-hmm. Like I reiterate, never compromise on your quality. Never. I talked about integrity. Never. Because you cannot justify that. Number two, one easy way you can handle the issue of price fluctuations is that when you issue an invoice, you put at the bottom, all right, this is valid for 30 days. So if you issued it at a date and then they present it, it's changed. So you revise the price. Simple. People are looking at you. Let them spend their energy copying you. They will always be copying. You will be a step ahead. And that challenges you to be innovative, to change. And they'll be wondering, how is this person doing? And you see them copying. Like, I did this 2 years ago or a year ago. You're not doing all right. Then he knows that you're also creating impact. So don't worry about that. Let them calculate your money for you. All right. You'll still be your money.
All right.
I am Derek Akwa, and since we started the conversation, I've not heard an intervention of government. So I want to ask, has change of government affected your businesses in any way? The reason is that some time ago we had a military rule, and due to that, many entrepreneurs lost their jobs, some lost their capitals, and even some flew out of the country to settle over there. So I want to ask, has change of government affected your businesses in any way? And coming to Ms. Naya, due to the raw materials that you get, has change of government also affected that side? Because sometimes those who works in the farms will be like, we are not getting fertilizers, we are not getting this, we are not getting that. So sometimes it delays the raw materials that we use to produce all the products. So that's my question. Thank you.
Change of government. Right. So government will come and go, right? But your business has to live. So as an enterprise, you have to evolve, or you design yourself that irrespective of which government is in power, I can still survive. Do you understand? Just like you as a living thing, if this place is hot or it's cold, all right, what would you do? You find something to wear, isn't it, to make you warm? If it's hot, what would you do? You remove your jacket. So the same way, all right, the environment is there. This is where you are. But what can you do to make sure that you are still alive and working and surviving? That's the mindset you should have as an entrepreneur. If government comes and provide a good environment for you, then you don't have to worry about sweating and all that. You can work effectively, right? If the environment is, like for example, the road from Accra to Kumasi is really done by whichever government is in place, or there's a rail system and I can move produce from Tamale down to Accra, it makes my business better, right? My cost of production will come down. I will thrive. But if that's not the case, but because I'm a business and I want to survive, I'll evolve and make sure that I put systems to make so the simple and short is that I take notice of government, but I plan as a business to make sure that whatever intervention, I take the best out of it and grow my business. Full stop. You asked about, okay, I think that was directed to.
I think that's a better question for you than me.
Okay.
Because I don't, well.
I can actually respond because he mentioned you directly. But so this is what we do. We partner government also to work, because like I said, if you want to go far, go together. Government has a big role to play. The food security of a nation is a national security issue. And so government's program, Planting for Food and Jobs, it's a great initiative. There's a role private sector can play. So we are also partnering government to making sure that farmers in rural areas get access to quality fertilizer that they can use to grow. Currently, there's a big problem happening, which is that because of pre-COVID or COVID, now Ukraine-Russia war, we're having prices skyrocket. So if fertilizer is there, farmers cannot buy. So as a business, what do? You evolve, innovate, and find ways of helping these smallholder farmers to, to access those inputs. Subsidy, government has, the Planning for Food and Jobs has a subsidy program, but it's not reaching everyone. They can only do much because now government resources are stressed. So what, as a private entity, do is also look in your business, how can you evolve, implement market systems that can support an initiative to support smallholder farmers that way. So what we're doing, and I think we launched a couple of weeks ago, is Support a Farmer initiative. So if you go, dial star, I think 886 star quadruple 4 hash, you can donate. And we open it up. It's on Chango. You go to Chango platform, you search for Farmerline. You can donate 1 cedi, 2 cedi to support a farmer. So that's an initiative we have come up with to support farmers to access inputs. You understand? So ultimately, we all have a role to play. And you don't need to depend on the government. If the government is providing a better environment, it's good for you. What it means, it accelerates the pace at which you can do, just like what a catalyst would do to a reaction, right? It's faster. If it's not good, you still have to evolve and then still, anyway.
Right, thank you. We want to take 2 questions from the back. Please kindly come forward and ask your question.
Thank you very much for the insight. I'm Sadina, and my question is, I have this friend. She has an African brand, and then there was one time this man ordered for a necklace, and then after the sleepless nights, skipping of lectures and a whole lot, this man called to tell her he doesn't want it again. And then he was rude without any tangible reason. So what if this man comes back to order for a new necklace? And then is she supposed to snub him or accept the order? Thank you very much.
Nana, your smile, would you want to respond to that?
I don't even know how to answer this question, but did he pay anything for it? No. So he didn't pay for any of her raw material. He didn't put in any down payments, and then she made it, and was she able to sell it to somebody else?
Yes. She's the owner.
Okay.
Because
let's give it up for her as she comes.
All right, good afternoon or good evening, everybody. My name is Queen Morjana, and I love your earrings.
Thank you.
I was really admiring you from afar. I'm a jewelry surgeon. I make jewelries, and I have an African fashion brand called Queen Safri. So I really liked when you were mentioning that the try and error issue about business, because I've really had a lot. And I think what my friend Dinah said is one of the problems I had to go. Like, even though initially, like I said, some rules and regulations for my brand, I found out that somehow, because of like my brand was a little bit emotional to me, which was a little bit don't use the word absurd, but maybe because it was my brand, I felt that way, yes. And I had to compromise a little. And this guy was like, I told him that I don't, process orders if you've not actually had like a down payment. And he was like, oh, well, I'm going to pay. So I think that particular guy actually made me to learn a lesson. So if you can talk to me from now to forever, if you don't drop the l'argent, like your girl is not listening to you. So.
So that's a learning experience, and sometimes that's what happens in business. You would make some decisions that would teach you to be a better business person, but now, like you're saying, without money you wouldn't do it, and and that is the lesson, because sometimes you have to do that, and you have to put in terms, and you have to also get people to take you serious as a business owner, because sometimes we get emotional and we forget we are running businesses. So you are standing there and people want to literally talk about, oh, but me and you, we are friends. But you know me. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. You don't worry. But then I'm like, well, that's my business. So sometimes some of these things I say, well, there's a point where our friendship ends and my business starts. So you have to know where that line, and you have to be able to separate it. That's also, you make more of those mistakes. Don't worry. Tell me.
It has ended for me. I've learned enough. Okay, so my question is in regards to people who actually are into the creative industry. I know all businesses are creative, literally, but then there are some kind of businesses that are like based on inspiration. Right. So let me use myself for an example, and I'll try to use maybe the artist for example too. Mm-hmm. So let's say I get an inspiration to do a jewelry. Sometimes I find it very difficult to like collaborate with people, because for me so far, the kind of people that I meet may not necessarily be creative, in designing jewelries that we can, collaborate together.
Your standard. It's okay to say that.
It's not like they're not up to my standard, but I think so far I haven't really seen.
Right.
Yes. And I wanted to ask, so what kind of advice, or do you have any options or like tips on how I can, research for people like in the creative sector I could probably do things with?
Okay. With that, I would say, how you say there are some people that you meet, but they are not. But I always look at it as maybe they can't create what I can create, but what can they do well?
Okay.
So there's always something that somebody else knows how to do. Maybe it might not be in the particular designs you do, but they do different type of designs, or they use a different raw material, or they maybe use some wire, and the way they twist the wire is different from how you twist yours. And so so it doesn't necessarily have to be where you guys are partnering directly, but it could also be where you are learning certain things they do that you don't do. Where sometimes here it almost becomes like, oh, that they are copying me, right? Or we are learning that's where sometimes those things also come in, because it's like we can't teach the next person because we are worried that they will steal what we are doing. But I always say you're not limited. If you're a creative person, you're not limited by what you did today. If you're a creative person, you're limited by what you did today, and so then you are really not a creative person, because ideas don't never run out. And because the more you do, the more challenging things that I have created today, if you asked me 5 years ago about them, I never knew I could create that, right? So the more you do, the better you would get. So how do you get into those spaces? Even when you think people are not that great, there's always something they do. They know how to do that you can learn from. And so that's what I would say. Or go on Etsy and other places and challenge yourself.
I've been doing that a lot, and I'm like, sometimes when I even saw your earring, I was telling my friend, I have an earring called Lovebird, and I was like, when I saw your picture, it kind of looked like you're wearing my earrings, but when I came closer, I realized it's a little bit of difference. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Keep clapping.
So just a quick advice as well. I think a challenge I'll throw to you is also take mentor people, all right? If you see they have the talent, they have the right attitude, help them to be the next you, so that they will not struggle and go through the same problem, frustrations you're going through. So please take that up and then try and groom people like yourself so that you can have more creative artists hone their talents. Yeah.
Thank you, Worlali. Let's give it up for Worlali. So, friends, we are getting closer to the end of our chat today. I know that there are a lot of questions that have been sent in via our Facebook page. We'll get them to respond to them in-house. Our guests will be around, you interact with them and get to ask them some of the questions. But I'm particular about this question. You can respond to it briefly, Worlali. So this one says, it's from Nana. It says, big data, as far as technology is concerned, how can our young entrepreneurs make use of big data to streamline their business and also take advantage of global consumers?
Yeah, big data is a new oil, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of potential that you can harness, and so leveraging new, technologies such as AI, machine learning. If you take, for example, the informal sector, buying and selling pop and mom shops, the transactions and things, trading, buying and sell they are doing, if there's a way to better understand what is happening, you are creating new markets for that. And so the simple answer is that finding a way, a cost-effective way to understand how people behave, how people think, all right? Using data, you're creating a next, multi-million-dollar business. And it takes a lot of, try and errors, a lot of hard work, a lot of learning, a lot of testing to get, this solution. So I would encourage a lot of young people, because now with a computer, with a mobile phone, you're basically good to go. All right? There's very little distance. And your time and that passion you have, you can, mine that and then create a great business out of it. So that's what I want to say.
Great. Thank you very much. Let's give it up for Worlali and Nana. So thank you so much for joining me up here to have this conversation. Those of you online, keep your questions coming and we'll find time to respond to them. We will be continuing with our program. Please, let's give it up for them as they return back to their seat. Right, so we've come to the end of this edition, Skills Hub Chat 2.0. We have a closing that is coming in shortly, and right after that, we will take a group picture together. You can speak with the speakers. They will hang around for a while, and those of you in-house will engage you after the closing. So I'd like to call on Wendy to give us a closing. Let's give it up for Wendy.
Good evening once again. I believe you all agree with me that this evening's conversation has been very rich and insightful. I'd like to say a special thank you to our moderator and our distinguished speakers for such educative content. Please, let's give it up for them. And also to our lovely audience for sticking with us right from the beginning to the end. We are most grateful. So this event wouldn't have been possible without support from BMZ, Plan International, YOTA, as well as Invest for Jobs. Yes. So I'd like to talk a bit about the Skills Hub. So the Skills Hub is pretty much a creative space for young people. So if you're a young person, be it you're in a business, or you're in the corporate field, you're a student, or you're currently not working, this is definitely the place for you. So we provide services such as support for business registration, life skills, entrepreneurship skills, CV writing, and amongst many others. So we also have facilities for rent. So we have the private office, shared working space, the co-working space, and conference hall for rent as well. So that includes the premise we are currently having the charter right now. So to contact us, you could reach us on 050-1499-435 and also on 050-1499-316. Kindly follow us on our social media pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Skills Hub by YOTA. So the handle is Skills Hub by YOTA. So I wish you all a safe journey back home. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Okay, so we'd like to have a photo with our guests. We'll do it in this order. The team members here who are here, kindly join us up. Let's have a photo with Worlali and Nana. And then when we are done, everyone will join us right on the stage for picture taking.
The all-new multi-purpose Skills Hub is supporting young people seeking opportunities to build their dream businesses, gain decent work, and transform their lives. The Skills Hub offers incredible services for next to nothing. These services include Youth Enterprise Services, where we support you to start, grow, and sustain their businesses. Our incubation and acceleration services come with priority access to curated library, mentoring and coaching, as well as business advisory services at the Skills Hub. Youth Employment Services, preparing youth for the world of work, and innovative supportive services and facilities providing events and meeting spaces with customizable seating capacity of 5 to 65, co-working spaces for young entrepreneurs who may not have office space to operate, high-speed internet cafe, a copy center, and others, special packages for the most sought after entrepreneurship skills, employability skills, digital skills, life skills, and financial literacy for individuals and organizations. The Skills Hub is open to every young person who wants to land their dream jobs or contracts. It's time to take charge of your future. Now visit the Skills Hub at YOTA building at American House traffic lights on the Worlali Road, East Lagos. The all-new multi-purpose Skills Hub is supporting young people seeking opportunities to build their dream businesses, gain decent work, and transform their lives. The Skills Hub offers incredible services for next to nothing. These services include Youth Enterprise Services, where we support you to start, grow, and sustain their businesses. Our incubation and acceleration services come with priority access to curated library, mentoring and coaching, as well as business advisory services at the Skills Hub. Youth Employment Services, preparing youth for the world of work, and innovative supportive services and facilities providing events and meeting spaces with customizable seating capacity of 5 to 65, co-working spaces for young entrepreneurs who may not have office space to operate, high-speed internet cafe, a copy center, and others, special packages for the most sought after entrepreneurship skills, employability skills, digital skills, life skills, and financial literacy for individuals and organizations. The Skills Hub is open to every young person who wants to land their dream jobs or contracts. It's time to take charge of your future. Now visit the Skills Hub at YOTA building at American House traffic lights on the Worlali Road, East Lagos. The all-new